Why do you love mid-side EQ so much? Now, there's a few reasons for this, and the main one is mid-side EQ allows me to, in many ways, correct the mix in terms of, you know, a kick drum, let's say. When I'm working with a stereo mix and I'm mastering a stereo mix, I can get the kick drum, right? I can pinpoint the kick drum with mid-side EQ. Go into mid, then I'm getting the kick. I'm not necessarily needing to affect in the low end on the kick. The kick doesn't fill out much of the stereo field, so I don't need to adjust the sides in when EQing a kick drum. Same with a vocal. A vocal is relatively down the center, so I don't need to do much processing in the stereo image, because then what I'm doing is, let's say for argument's sake, I've got some pads. If I'm EQing in stereo and not in mid-side, what I'm then doing is, if I'm trying to bring out some of, let's say I'm bringing out some of the sweet spot in a vocal, if I do that processing in stereo left and right, I'm then bringing out what's in the stereo image as well. So I'm bringing out what's in the sides as well as what's in the mid. Whereas the vocal is right down the center in many cases. So when I process an EQ, I can just EQ the mid, which is that means that what I'm just applying the processing to is what's in the mid, what's right down the center. And generally speaking, that is where my vocal is. Other things that are beneficial when using mid-side is correcting the stereo image. So I might not want to, let's say for instance, we've got the kind of nice kind of stereo image that is in the top. Now, when using mid-side, I can go into the sides and I can start adjusting and EQing the sides only, which is just basically just EQing that stereo image rather than affecting what's down the middle. So let's say for argument's sake, we've got a vocal in there that's got a nice reverb. What I'm then doing is, when I'm EQing the sides, I'm then just processing what's in that kind of nice stereo width in the reverb, rather than actually affecting what's in the center, which is where the vocal is. There's lots of reasons why mid-side's great. Another one is actually kind of using a filter in mid-side, so just getting the sides and filtering the low end of that, because I don't want much of a stereo image in the low end, so I can filter that out to a very, very precise point, much like a mono maker would. So there's a few reasons why mid-side's good. It's generally a case of you're able to do something that is different to standard stereo, and you can pinpoint specific frequencies that are problematic or need to be enhanced in a stereo image, but finely tune exactly where they are in that image. So yeah, I mean, that is pretty much in a nutshell why I like, and I do love, working in mid-side. Now, in this chain in particular, I use the Buzz EQ as stereo. The PQ down here is in mid-side, and then I also use the Golly Porter Grinder EQ in mid-side. I've got two mid-side EQs, both slightly different. The SPL PQ here is more of a surgical EQ, so that's where I'm going to do the majority of my kind of carving out any problematic frequencies in that stereo image. I'm going to adjust the sides, enhancing certain little aspects of it. That's what I'm doing all my surgical EQ on. The Golly Porter Grinder, that's more of an enhancement tool, so that's after the compression, and I'm using that more in mid-side to bring out that sweet top end, and sometimes I'll use it to add a little bit of low end if I'm lacking a bit of low end once I get past the compression. So yeah, mid-side is definitely something to consider in your mastering chain.